Melly is set to go before the judge for his bond hearing April 30th, which is literally right around the corner. And I was just listening to a Cuff Boys video where he broke down this whole situation and some of the stuff in his motion that was filed a few days ago. And I'll be real, it's about to get real
All right,
interesting.
first thing we got here for Melly, defendant's witness list at the hearing on April 30th, trying to get him out on bond. Matthew W. Norman is a psychiatrist on Google that has 2 stars, so doesn't seem to be the best rated psychiatrist, but Victor Delgado seems to be some sort of security guy who runs like a security company. They're going to have him testify and explain how he would monitor Melly, I guess, 24/7 if he were to be granted bond, which I think there's no way in hell. Next is a manager of 100K management. I guess she's just trying to say that he needs to get out to work or something. He has ties to the community and all that shit. Audrey J. Cross, I have no idea who it is.
They also have a notice of hearing that outlines exactly what's going to be discussed on April 30th.
Preclude the state from introducing statements made by Cortlen Henry. All right. On or about October 26, 2018 at 4:35 a.m., Cortlen arrived at Memorial Miramar Hospital requesting help for 2 passengers in his car. Miramar officer Amengor and medical staff went out to the car and found 2 unresponsive passengers that had suffered gunshot wounds. Henry was questioned at the hospital by Detective Moretti. He recounted to Detective Moretti a version of events. Subsequently, Henry was taken to where he claimed the events an issue occurred and answered more questions by the detectives. Law enforcement was unable to locate any evidence to support Henry's statement about the location of the events. Henry was then released. Okay, so they find no evidence of a drive-by. They drive out there with him. They don't see nothing. No shell casings, nothing. 0 evidence of another car came up and shot at them. Several months later, Henry was indicted for 2 counts of first-degree murder and 2 counts of accessory after the fact. On September 9th, he took a plea, and they dropped the 2 counts of murder, which I still think is crazy. Cortlen was facing 5 life sentences and got off with what, like 10 years or whatever it was? That is fucking crazy.
If you remember, Bortlen was the one who originally told the police that him and his friends were victims of a drive-by shooting. A car pulled up next to him at a light and just started firing, and he had to duck and drive away. That would drive off, that was his original story.
Mark said, "You're doing your friends a disservice. We can't do our job."
I'm not doing them no disservice. I'm telling you the straight up honest truth. Like I can't. What can I like tell you if I'm ducking for my life? My head's over here, steering wheel's here. I'm trying to make sure I'm like, you know what I'm saying? But like I'm keeping the car straight by hitting median. You know what I'm saying? That shit fucked me up, bro.
Let me ask you this.
When I look up and see them like how they looking. What you think I'm like looking for a car? No, hell no. I'm trying to, man.
All right, well, let's just forget about where.
Another issue is Henry is not expected to testify in Melly's trial. So under this law that they pulled up when they filed his motion, Melly has the right to cross-examine anybody who made a statement and is being used against him.
He told the officer his friends had just been shot. The officer called for additional law enforcement and medical assistance. As she spoke further with Henry told her he just left the studio with his friends. He said he was stopped at the traffic light when a car pulled up and started shooting at his car. Henry said he ducked and drove forward. Medical personnel confirmed 2 passengers were deceased. Moretti arrived at the hospital and questioned Henry. He related version of events that were similar to what he told to the officer, but were more detailed. Henry then accompanied law enforcement to the area and answered questions along the way. When he returned to the hospital, Detective Bertrand questioned him further. Henry answered the questions posed. Henry was released. Legal argument. His statements to law enforcement will violate Demon's constitutional right to confrontation. So what it sounds like is they won't be able to cross-examine Cortlen because he's not a witness in this case. He's not going to testify. Demons has the absolute right to confront the witnesses against him. Henry becomes an adverse witness through introduction of his statement by the state, yet Demons is unable to confront Henry about the statements. Demons will be unable to cross-examine Henry on whether the statements he gave were actually true, whether he was merely mistaken or whether he actually lied. If he lied, Demons will be unable to cross-examine Henry as to why he lied and what motivated him to lie. He will be unable to cross-examine Henry about the conditions under which he gave those statements to law enforcement. The statements taken by law enforcement and Cortlen Henry are testimonial. Supreme Court already ruled that out-of-court testimonial statements that have not been subject to prior cross-examination by an accused are categorically disallowed as a violation of the 6th Amendment.
It don't stop there though. The defense even argued too that even if Henry lied to the police, that only applies to Henry. That don't apply to Melly. So just because prosecutors think that Bortlen made up a story, that don't automatically mean that Melly is guilty.
First trial, Melly's lawyers were throwing Cortlen under the bus. They were trying to add doubt that Cortlen was the shooter, not Melly. They did that so much in the first trial. I think at least 10 to 20 times.
That's kind of crazy. I mean, if we going off law, that's a hell of a move. But if we going off common sense, it's like, man, whoever represented, man, and whoever put this together, miss me with that bullshit. If the judge agree with the defense, the jury may never hear this drive-by story and it being fake, how it was staged and all that stuff. It's like the prosecution don't got the narrative that they, or the picture that they able to paint, they don't got nothing to work with. When ultimately, I feel like the story, for the most part, it starts with the fake drive-by. It starts with Bortlen driving the body to the hospital and giving the fake statement, and you seeing on surveillance and you following depositions of other people who came and gave statements and stuff like that, cell phone towers being pinged, like that kind of is the bread and butter for all the other things tied to the investigation. That if I'm making sense. But if the judge denies the motion, then the jury get a chance to hear the full story. They get to hear the narrative. They get to see the picture being painted in its entirety, and how the prosecutors believe that it wasn't true, which in all honesty could seriously hurt Melly in front of the jury. If the judge denies this motion, it's game right now. It just all comes down to the judge, will these statements come in, will he allow them, will he block them? Let me know what y'all think. Should the jury hear Henry's statement, or is the defense right on this one? And I want y'all to keep in mind that Bortlen gave a full statement to Detective Moretti at the emergency room the night of the shoot. And I keep saying, either he the dumbest criminal of all time by driving 2 dead bodies to the ER, making up a story the way he did, or he gotta be the most clever, because what he did and how he was able to get his charges brought down like that and they still can't place Melly inside of this fucking car for no reason at all. It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it. But I'm gonna end it on that, man. Y'all let me know what y'all think, man. It's T-RaeTv. Hit the like button, subscribe, share, comment down below. Y'all have a blessed night. I'm out.